Hello, my name is Mateo Graziosi. I'm Director of Business Development at Zynga, formerly a payment person working for a game company. Imagine that. Today I kind of want to talk about social gaming. But before I do, I want to thank Graziosi. We were here last year, my third time in Istanbul, and always a pleasure to be here. As you guys probably already know, we have millions of players here, and Turkey is an incredibly important market for Zynga. In fact, our newer games are actually already performing very well in this market. So we'll talk about that a little bit. This is a clicker. So play to engage, the power of social gaming, what it means to not only players, but what it means to brands. To understand, am I doing this right? Which one of the 5 buttons is it here? Let's see, we'll try that one. Maybe this one? All right. So Zynga's vision is to connect the world through games. What does that mean? We kind of aspire to be an internet treasure. And what that means to us is we look at other kind of category leaders, for example, Facebook and Google and Amazon, and we want play to be to Zynga what share is to Facebook, or what search is to Google, or what shop is to Amazon. And the connections we make with players is incredibly important. It's important to them, and we'll get into a little bit of the details why. But if we can have meaning and have enjoyment for players and playing with each other, then for the most part we've done our job, and that's what we want to do. So we have a very large global audience. Social gaming in general is obviously very large. We've actually added a lot of players to the population. How many here have played a social game? Raise your hand. Okay. How many people who didn't raise their hand played board games maybe in the kitchen growing up with a family? So we would consider that a social game. And we would like to have those experiences that you may have had at the kitchen table with your family kind of exist in the digital sense with our games. Some of our game titles, let's see here, we got, oops, wrong way. And we have 72 million active users daily. So that's actually coincidentally close to the Turkish population. If they were all playing games, you'd probably have less of a traffic problem, I think, in Istanbul. So I don't know if they're all going to do that. We have 175 countries that we represent as well. So our games are designed to basically be in a multitude of genres, whether it's Invest and Express, for example, like Cityville or Castleville or Farmville, hidden objects games like Hidden Chronicles. Zynga Poker is our first game. It was built in 2007, remains to be the largest poker game in the world. And most recently, we just launched Farmville, which actually launched in 18 languages. So Farmville 2 is actually also our first 3D game. Anyone play Farmville 2 yet? 3D? Okay, cool. So we actually not only have support groups worldwide, but we actually have 22 global offices, 9 countries, and 3,000 employees. But we also have Bangalore, Beijing, and Tokyo making games and actually operating IP, and they're introducing that at a global level. So some of our games are actually made in other countries and developed there as well. And that kind of ties into local content for those players, expertise, domain expertise in those different regions as well. So what do we want to do? We want to enable play for everyone, everywhere. So that means multi-platform, not only for devices, but operating systems. That means we want to make enough games that make it meaningful for a broad base of users, whether it's a smartphone, a laptop PC, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Zynga.com, whether it's iOS, whether it's Android. We want to ensure that players have an opportunity to play our games anywhere they may be, and whatever device they may be using. So in doing so, we really need to look at different game genres that apply themselves well to that. We're actually launching a game soon called Ruby Blast, and it's going to be the first game that's actually in each of these platforms from the beginning. Zynga players, for example, that play poker sometimes only play on their mobile phone and only play on PC. But obviously, we launched a PC version of the game first, and then we moved into mobile. So where it's possible for the games, it makes sense, because obviously different formats lend themselves to different types of games. What will happen is you'll see us make attempts to actually put games like Ruby Blast in multiple platforms and devices from the start. So localization, it's hard to believe actually that before we started launching in different languages, before 2010, it was only in English, but we had English players obviously all over the world playing our games. So in order to kind of enrich the playing experience, it's very important not only to have many languages that our games are offered in, but also have currencies. So we actually launched 16 languages in 2011, and we're adding Arabic, Russian, and Polish this year. This is very important for us. We also sometimes work on content that's relevant inside the game. For example, here in Turkey, we did some Turkey assets for Empires and Allies. So things like that obviously are important to our players. It enriches the playing experience, and it also lets players play in a context that they're used to. One other interesting note, we launched Farmville in 18 languages. This is Farmville 2. So this is our first 3T game. We launched in 18 languages. This is in Turkish, obviously. How many have said they played this? Has anyone played the game in Arabic? Anyone? Farmville 2 is the first game that we launched in Arabic. Not one. I was hoping someone from, okay. But anyway, so again, very important to us. And then, in an attempt to make things contextual, we want players playing the games in the language they're comfortable in. So we're very excited about that. Am I the only one using paper, the very low-tech way of looking at notes? No? No one else uses paper? All right. For existing games, we kind of see ourselves, we liken ourselves kind of to television, where console games are more like movies. And what we mean by that is it's important to add new content on an ongoing basis for all our popular titles. And a way that we do that is we actually, for example, this month is Halloween in the United States, so we have a Farmville expansion of Halloween. So you have anything from jack-o'-lanterns to pumpkins, and people like this added content. It keeps them engaged and they get enriched, and then players see this. And when they see this, they have a higher likelihood of retaining their gameplay, and retention is incredibly important for our business. So we are always constantly introducing games, much like television shows introduce more new episodes, new characters, things like that. In Cityville, we did a urban kind of downtown environment that was very popular, which you can see there. Also new, you guys may have read about this, we just announced what the games are, but I think about 6 months ago we did a deal with Hasbro, which is a physical gaming company. We're actually launching physical games. These are going to start in all English-speaking countries, so you have Australia, Canada, the US, and England, and in the UK. And what we've done here is we've reskinned some old games. I don't know if anyone here is familiar with Hungry Hungry Hippo. Show of hands? Okay. Well, as you can see, we did Farmville, Hungry Hungry Herd. And in these countries, you'll see, actually, there's commercials made for this that will actually air on television networks. Because we, natural extension of our brand to kind of also be in the physical space, and our IP is very strong. Our game IP oftentimes is much longer than even the Zynga brand at times. More people can know or identify with Farmville, and we want to go ahead and make sure that we offer more opportunities for them to play. We have 3 versions of Words with Friends actually coming out, which is one of our most popular games. So that's a little bit about connections. One thing about connections I want to kind of note on, and some of you probably experienced this as well. Does anyone here in the room have maybe a kid in college that they play Words and Friends with? Anybody? Everyone looks kind of young, I don't know. Well, we get a lot of people actually chatting in our games. So for example, in Words with Friends, I have a friend here from California that actually lives here in Istanbul. And a lot of times the only interaction I have with them is playing with Words with Friends. And actually we use a chat feature on Words with Friends more than we do with the phone itself. So it's these type of connections that we like, we get a lot of feedback from, and it's incredible. We also did a poll, and I think 20% of our players began to hook up with dates via Words with Friends. So that's another positive thing, another example of our interaction with our players and the connections that we build for them. So what it means to add. So we have three kind of categories of advertising. The basic ads are display ads, obviously. They're multi-platform. We have a video ad that we'll touch on in a moment. We also have brand integrations. Display ads, as you know, are very simple. We often ask advertisers to incent value to the user. And the reason why we do this is we don't want to have a burdensome ad experience for our user. We actually want to integrate value into the viewing of an ad. So a lot of these companies that advertise with us, what they'll do is they'll actually provide incentive to the user. And they'll do it in a way that can either be contextual inside the game with a deep brand integration, or merely just offering game cash for a branded ad. And coincidentally, we actually are also doing, we're doing a survey, for example, inside of games. So brands can actually get insights from their customers, and I'll show you that in a moment. So here's an example of a video integration. You run out of energy in Cityville, you have three options. One is to ask to get energy from a friend. The other is to buy energy, or you can hit an ad. And what happens is the advertiser will provide, for example, the brand will provide 3 or 4 energy for that engagement. And what we find is that the player actually really enjoys the experience of watching the ad and feels rewarded for that, and actually appreciates that the brand is lending themselves to letting them level up in the game. So this is very powerful. We call this watch to earn. And it's a network product, and you'll be seeing more of this roll out to many more games. But it's a powerful concept, and again, it doesn't feel intrusive inside the game, and it's very, very positive response from our player base. We also have, we serve mobile advertising, obviously, as well in video form. Display ads, very standard, as you can see. We put this on the game. We also do this in mobile. Some of the things that we're also known for are kind of deep, rich brand integrations. Here's kind of a collage of many different brand integrations: McDonald's, Best Buy. Best Buy would be like the Techno Rosa of Turkey. We've done some work with them. Another one on the mobile game that's a brand integration is something we call Word of the Day. We can tell a brand, hey, we have X amount of this particular word played X million times. For example, in the movie The Help, so should someone play the word help, they'd actually get a power-up in the game, and then obviously served an interstitial brand. And again, there's a lot of appreciation from our users to the actual brand for helping them advance in the game. So it's a bit of surprise and delight in a way that doesn't offend the actual playing experience. All these are tied to basically the concept of social influence for the brand. We want content related to the brand to be shared, whether it's on their fan page, whether it's discussed on our fan pages, which are also fairly powerful for the brand. Millions of pieces of content will actually be discussed. In this particular case, Best Buy, like I said, kind of the Techno Rosa of the US, if you will, they provided a quest. And if you collect relevant products, for example, in this case, camera, television, refrigerator, it's a consumer electronics store, what you'll find is some reward at the end of that. And that's a permanent item inside the game, as you can see. And people really respond well to this. They want actually some authenticity inside of their games, and real brands provide that authenticity. So what happens is you have, for example, a generic offering inside of Cityville, like Joe's Cafe or Your Name Cafe. Well, if you put a Starbucks cafe in there, it performs quite well. So the authenticity that brands actually provide the playing experience is quite powerful. Here's an example of a branded business. You enter the game. This is McDonald's. We also articulate to the user what the value of that asset is. This asset's going to render game cash and coins and allow you to have increased population in the game of Cityville. So it's all tied to the game economy and the ability to level up inside the game. So we put this in the marketplace, and then we articulate what value this asset has, which entices a user more to place the asset. And once they place the asset inside the game, obviously contextually it looks like any other asset. It's just branded, whatever brand it may be. And in this case, it's made a lot of users very happy. They're eating at McDonald's. So this type of blurring the lines of kind of entertainment and branding is getting a very positive response from our player base. So thank you for having us. That's it. Thank you.